Hi, I'm Susan Gain Carroll, Director of Career and Technical Education for Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools.
Hi, I'm Ashley Campbell, the Assistant Director of Career and Technical Education.
So today we are going to unveil for you our new CTE Instructional Playbook. And we are so excited about this resource, but just wanted to give you a little context about where it came from. So, you know, a lot of us, myself included, have come into education without necessarily having a 4-year degree. And like anything, when you walk into something that is new, there's so much to learn. And so we thought that it would be a great help, we hope, to find what are the best of the best resources so that you have a tool that is not only easy to navigate, but also one that you can use quick and you can change on a dime when you go, you know what, things aren't going so well. I need maybe something a little bit different. So we worked with our friends at Constructed Learning Designs, and they came up with a phenomenal platform. And so the great thing is that you could print this out if you want to print it out and put it in a notebook. I recommend using it electronically because there's a lot of really great connections. So instead of me talking about it, let me show you. Okay. Ashley, can you see? I want to make sure that we're seeing the right screen.
Yes, I'm seeing the playbook.
Okay, awesome. All right, so what you have before you is the playbook, and we've tried to make it very easy to access and navigate. So if you go to the next page, you'll see each section that's in the playbook for each page and why it's there and what we're trying to accomplish. So this is really the central heartbeat of this document. And so for each one of these sections, there are links. So if you wanted to just say skip planning and success and go right to classroom environment, click and voila, there you are. But now you want to go back up to the beginning of the document, you look for this content button and you click that and voila, there you are right at the beginning. So it's very easy to navigate. So what we asked our friends at CLD is what we call them internally, Constructed Learning Designs to do is to really look for those high-level research-based strategies that we thought would be easy and accessible for everyone on in our team, our CTE family. So there are 5 categories, as you can see that. We're going to talk just about a couple in depth so that you can kind of see the levels of resources. But let's first talk about planning for success. You know, when the first time I did a lesson plan, it was a little overwhelming. And we have great support. And part of what we did also in creating this document is we really got the feedback from our teachers. So we had a couple of focus groups with middle and high school teachers to make sure that we were helping and not creating more confusion. They loved the document. And this is one that they really got excited about, was our planning for success, because within that document, within those connections, you can see that it goes into the one sentence. So if you want a really quick reference, you just read that one sentence. If you want to learn a little bit more about the research and, well, is this really a good strategy? Here's where you learn about that. But I'm really excited about these lower categories, which is what's the point? Why are we even doing this? And then what can teachers do? And then what do students do within this strategy? And what are the samples? So in learning targets, which we know are critically important, how do you make those happen? And in this one, it's actually 2 pages. And down here below, you will see where there are all links to resources. Now, I just want you to know that Ashley and I have clicked on every single one of these links and they work. So I know sometimes, Ashley, don't you hate that when someone gives you a resource and then you click on it and you're like, okay, that doesn't even exist. So Ashley's going to talk at the end of this about feedback, so that if you ever come across a link that's not working, we want to know right away to make sure that it's not a frustrating document, but a document that helps. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here, navigate to contents. Classroom environment, we know it's super duper important. That positive environment, I always talk in my classroom about it being a community of learners and that we're all on the continuum of the learning somewhere different, and that we're a community and we're trying to help each other grow within that community. And so there are several, some that you may go, well, Susan, I know, I mean, I've been teaching for 15 years. I know that positive relationships is really important, but you know what? You maybe have not done project-based learning yet. And so there's different resources at different levels of where you might be at in your career so that you can grow, and also thinking about how you're evaluated and tying that to your evaluation. So we just hope it's going to be helpful. You can see I get very excited about this tool because I just think it's wonderful. So I want to look at student engagement for a second and just talk a little bit about the different areas. So activating prior knowledge, purposeful collaboration, making meaning from text, and peer feedback. I want to go in here to making meaning from text, and I'll tell you why I picked this one, because CTE has a lot of technical text, and there's a lot of jargon, a lot of words, and so this could be very useful if you are in a classroom and you're like, you know what, we need to figure out what's important out of this text. So I want to click on one of our resources, the text rendering protocol. Now I'm going to ask Ashley again. Ashley, can you see? Okay, fantastic. All right, so there are several protocols from National School Reform faculty. And I don't know if you all have been trained in that. I have, and there are a lot of really great protocols. Now this looks like a lot, but actually if you take some time to just unpack it, they just include a lot of logical steps to make sure that you understand what the goal is and how that's going to work. So this is one of my favorites because it really does not, it doesn't force kids to say, like put them on the spot to say, well, what'd you get out of that reading? But in a group, they're talking about, well, what sentence do you think in this paragraph is really important? And they get to talk about why they think that's important. And what happens in that group setting is they begin to learn from one another what they think is important. So let's imagine that you might be a reader who's a struggling reader. And maybe the sentence you picked, maybe it's not the most important sentence, but someone in your group did. Now, I, as a struggling reader, now just learned from 3 other people in my group about that passage. That's really powerful. And that's a powerful way to empower kids, students to learn from each other rather than always relying on our teacher as the facilitator and the instructor. So I just wanted to share that one because it was one of my favorites. And so let me see if I can get out of here without getting myself all the way out. So again, I'm going to navigate back to the beginning. And Ashley, I know you like student-to-student talk also. So you tell me where to navigate, and you can please share about that informative assessment.
Absolutely. So student-to-student talk is super important in the classroom because we want students to talk to one another. We just don't want them to sit there and look at you and look at each other and not have a conversation at all. So Susan, if you could click on the shared learning link there, so we can go to that page. So your shared learning, your shared learning is going to basically get your students talking to one another. They're going to be able to talk about certain things that you might have placed in your lesson. And if you click on the example, one example right there that is really common amongst all educators is think, pair, share. It's a strategy that can be used, and you might have used it before and you're like, wait, I used to use this strategy and now let me pull it back out again because my kids really need to make sure that they're talking to one another. So this one is super quick, super easy to use. And so Susan, if you navigate back to there are some additional, if you go up to the very top again, there are some additional strategies within student-to-student talk as well. So you have your low stakes discussion in which students aren't getting anxiety about having to talk to their peers. You have the reciprocal teaching, where it gives the students a chance to show you what they've experienced and what they've learned in your lesson. You have, of course, high stakes discussion, where it is putting more of the responsibility on students. And then you have students asking questions, because we always want students to ask questions, but there are particular ways sometimes that we want students to ask questions. So that strategy is going to help you there. Susan, if you navigate back up to that menu, we also have the formative assessment column. And so within that area, we want everyone to understand that assessments are not just about taking tests, right? There are quick and easy assessments, ways that you can assess your students, so that way you understand what they learned. So within this column, you have different strategies that you can use that can be beneficial. One super fun and easy way to understand that students are learning is exit tickets. So you are able to click on that and understand, like, what kind of tickets can I use? If you also pay attention, that you will see that there are asterisks beside certain strategies within this menu. That means that involves student movement, right? So we want to get students up and out of their seats to make sure that they're moving within the classroom, make sure their legs aren't asleep, and make sure they engage in some type of movement. So Susan, I'm going to pass it back to you so we can square this up and then give a chance for feedback as well.
Awesome, thank you, Ashley. So let's talk about this tool. So if you're a new teacher and new to teaching, this could look very overwhelming. And so my recommendation is that you pick one strategy and you work on that strategy, and you probably will need to use it at least 4 or 5 times before you kind of get the groove of how to use it. That's just the art of teaching. And then you can look at adding something else into your skills and into your lesson plans, because we don't want to try to do too many things at once that are new, because then it just becomes, it can get a little frustrating, and sometimes things don't flow well in the classroom. For those of you in high school, you can always work with your instructional facilitator, and also in middle and high school, also your fellow teachers are always willing to support a new teacher. Let's say that you're not a new teacher. So thinking about how you might use this as an entire CTE department would be a great strategy. Maybe you all are going to all decide that you want to try one of those strategies, and then bring how it works back to your department PLC, or maybe your PLC that is meeting as a district, you want to choose a strategy to use. I think the other part that I just want to make sure that we know, or that you understand that we know, that sometimes your school will have instructional strategies. We want to make sure that you don't see this as something to take the place of that, but really as a supplement. So if your building is really trying to move the needle and leveraging a certain kind of instructional strategy, we want you to prioritize that. But we think there's enough actionable strategies that are pretty simple that you will have now a nice tool belt of a lot of different skills to use. So Ashley, can you talk a little bit about feedback, because we really want to make this your document and something that's really easy to use.
Absolutely. So throughout the year, we'll be collecting feedback from teachers as well as support staff for the usage of the playbook. So at the end of first semester, we're going to collect feedback, and then at the end of second semester, we will collect feedback. So middle of the year and end of the year for those that are on a year-long schedule. So we are so excited to get your feedback. We're so excited for you to practice with this playbook. And like Susan said, making sure you're prioritizing those instructional strategies that your school is focusing on. But I really have a feeling that some of those instructional strategies are going to match the ones that are in our playbook. So we are so excited to give this to you to make sure that you are engaging students and continuing to craft your practice of teaching. So thank you for your time today.